Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. So let's go over through this again. Ha. Perfect tech issues. All right. Anyways, let's start over. Hi, everyone. My name is Leo Richard. Let's do this all over again with this particular session. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to tackle what life stacks are and why they are so important to creating anything that you want out of your life. So, what is it you want to create? Let me just check my check. All right, cool. Haha. All right, thanks everyone. All right, we're in now. We're plugged in live and you can actually hear me talk. Appreciate that. All right, so we're going to go through a few breakdowns. So the first part, I'm just going to explain to you the 5 phases that you're going to go through to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And it follows an acronym. It's a DREAM acronym that I've taught for probably 20 years. That follows a whole bunch of different things that in each of those phases. I'll give you kind of a rundown of that in 5-10 minutes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at what high achievers do. What are their critical components that they do? And I'm going to give a shout out to Ruth Gautian here. This is her book, The Success Factor. Highly recommend it. It's like $100 for hard copy. She's done a lot of research on high achievers, what they do, and what their key points are. So I would recommend that. Thanks, Jay, for the comment. And thank you for letting me know as well. So with regards to that, we're going to break down the high achiever space. So be able to achieve anything that you want out of life, specifically bigger goals, you need to be a high achiever. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But that does not mean being busy for the sake of being busy. If you are overworked or exhausted or things like that, you're not doing it right. Okay, so being a high achiever there's a whole bunch of stuff to it that you need to really pay attention to. And then what we're going to do is break it down into some of the habits that you need to achieve. So essentially what we need to do in these life stacks. And so if you're familiar with weight training by any means, so weight training, stack and weight training, in one version of it is what are your supplements that you're applying to give you, what you want. Maybe it's weight gain or something like that. And so there's supplements, you're stacking your supplements on top of each other to support you with that. So a life stack are these different stacks that you have in your life that you apply so that you can really enhance your life towards your goals. Now, I'm going to give a significant mind shift that you really need to shift to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. Is you need to shift the attachment to the outcome of the goal. Really, the purpose of a goal, in my opinion, and where I see it actually work for people when they actually achieve what they want, is they let go of the need to achieve the goal and they start to focus on who they need to become to achieve that specific goal. And I'll explain more about that in a little bit. But that's essentially the shift that you really need to be able to achieve what you want is to who do you need to become to achieve that particular goal, because it's just seamless. It just shows up when you are that particular person. All right. So anyways, so let's explain this. So let's go down into the DREAM acronym here, and I'll go through this in about 5 minutes here. So DREAM. So the letter D stands for discovery. And so what you need to do is you need to discover what your goals actually are. What is it you actually want to create? The joke I have is that what's a diploma I always never wanted, right? Like, did I actually want to have that relationship? Did I actually want to go to school there? Did I actually want this? Is this a family pressure on me? Is this a relationship pressure on me? Is this a society pressure on me to be and operate in a certain way, perform at a certain caliber, certain level, whatever? And so I need to actually discover what my goals actually are. So that's the first phase. Now, the second phase, as I've already mentioned this, is the redesign phase. It's like, who do you need to be to achieve your goals? Instead of trying to focus on your goals, if you're so focused on your goals, it's great to have a focus on your goals. However, if you're forgetting who you need to be, then you're going to miss out on so much in life. You're going to miss out on your family relationships. You're going to miss out on, being grateful for the things that you have in life. You're going to miss out on so much if you're losing out your focus on who you need to become to achieve that particular goal. So that's the redesign phase. Now, the third phase is the elevation phase. And the elevation phase is where people essentially deal with what I call the wall, the resistance, the fears, the criticism, the inner critic, the backlash from people around them. There's always this kind of resistance, this pressure that comes on you when you are creating change. And this is standard for, wave in the ocean, if there's a change, there's like this resistance at first. Or when you're flying, there's an aspect of like if you're changing, you can slide or skid, but there's this like resistance, this bit of a bank or that goes in that particular angle. And so when you have that, there's an initial thing until it adjusts with everything that's going on. And once you're adjusted, then you can kind of elevate yourself. And flying will be a very useful analogy that I'll apply a couple of times in here today. But essentially, you hit this wall, and maybe it's like, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, or I have to work extremely hard to do this. So say someone's like making $100,000 a year, and they figure they need to double their amount of work to make it to $200,000 a year. That's not actually the case. And so it's like, I mean, if you're working 60 hours a week, making $100,000 a year, how are you going to do that to 120 hours a week, right? That's pretty hard. You need to figure out another way. And there's a change, there's a resistance that goes into that particular space. Now, the next piece is the authenticity phase. Now, this is where people go into a phase of what's truer. They go through certain pivots in their life. Sometimes people here get stuck in the shiny object syndrome. Now, 95% of people do not make it to the fourth phase, in the authenticity phase. They just kind of get stuck in not being able to do it. They have this, I'm not good enough, or they think they have to overwork themselves, or they're following someone else's goals or their dreams for them. Or they get distracted with a shiny object. It's like they feel like everything's going well. It's like, yeah. And this opportunity shows up that they start to chase that gives a sort of shiny object, and they start chasing that. And then they lose their focus and their momentum in terms of what their own goals are. They got caught in someone else's agendas or someone else's goals, and then they end up failing, right? And that's partly how that goes. And then to be able to pull it all together is this mastery phase, is being able to like really master essentially your emotions and your energies. And you can master your energy and emotions, and none of those distractions come in. You can get over the I'm not good enough or other people's pressures on you. You're so focused and dedicated to your goals and who you're becoming that stuff doesn't even really matter. It's just sort of like noise in the background, like the wind in the trees or something like that. So anyway, so those are the 5 phases that you're going to go through if you're going to achieve the goals that you set out on. Now, there's a difference between like a low caliber goal and high caliber goal. Now, people who want those big goals, people are going to watch a kind of live class like this, are going to get, they're going to want big goals, right? That's just kind of the reality. They're focused on creating goals. They're like, how do I make this amazing mansion show up in my life? How do I get that dream relationship? How do I get to that next ladder in the success, chain and that kind of stuff? And so how do you actually do that? And that comes down to your life stacks. So how do you design your life stacks? So we're going to break it down. So go ahead and grab a piece of paper and grab a pen if you don't already. And we're going to break down some life stacks for you so that you can figure this out for yourself while I grab a sip of water here. All right. So you have your piece of paper, you've got your pen, and I want you to imagine yourself in 5 years from now. And I want you to just sort of start to think about, if you don't make any changes in your life, you stay the same, stay in the same house, same relationship, same no relationship, same whatever's going on in your life, and you don't make any changes. You just kind of set out the course as it is, what your life is going to be like in 5 years from now. And I want you to just really kind of think about that and really kind of visualize that, envision that. What is your life going to be like in 5 years if nothing changes? And let's write down a couple of words to describe that. Is it boring? Is it exciting? Do you feel like you're on point with what's going on? All that kind of stuff. And then I want you to start to imagine your life in 5 years from now in a way that would be amazing or awesome. And then if you already kind of envision something that was amazing and awesome, what would take it to that next level to make it feel really well owned? What if you kicked out that belief or that habit or whatever that's limiting your ability to get to that level in 5 years from now? And what would your life be like if you did that? Just kind of, what would that be like if you had sidestepped that, overcame it, broke through it? And just find a couple words to describe your life in 5 years from now if you happen to pull that off? Are you excited? Are you scared? Are you intimidated? Lots of joy. And just what would be a couple of words to describe that? And just note that. And I want you to come up with, 5 goals. They don't necessarily need to be anything specific, but the more specific, the better. And I want you to just come up with 5 goals. And I'll use one of my examples to kind of support you. So in 5 years from now, I'd love to own a plane and I'd love to fly it. My own plane, fly it around, be the pilot of the plane and so forth like that. That's an example of one of my goals. And there's a lot of reasons for it. There's a lot of enthusiasm. I love flying. I love being able to travel without restrictions. I can just go from airport to airport kind of thing and hop into a car and get going. I'm crossing a border, then I just need to check in with customs. They hop in the plane, check it out, and there you go, you're on your way. And all that kind of stuff. So just pick like 5 goals in 5 years from now that you'd like to attain. Maybe it's a new home, larger home, fancier home, simpler home, whatever it might be. And just pick 5 goals, write them down, piece of paper, some big goals. And then if you got these 5 goals, I want you to start to consider and think about what the aspects, the activities that are going to happen between now and then. So for example, my goal is to buy a plane and fly it myself. So I need to get a pilot's license. I need to learn how to fly a plane. So that's one of my things. So break it down into your 1 year goals. So to get to that 5 year goal, what gets me there within a year? So it takes about a year, 6 months to a year to get a pilot's license. It takes about a year to get specific licensing I need just because of calendars and scheduling. And just write it down. Like, what are these specific steps? So if you want to get a degree, complete a degree, 5 years, and you got your first year. Is it a master's in arts? And what's your first year? That kind of stuff. What school? Maybe you want to have a child. Maybe you want to have a company that's doing $1 million a year, $1 million a month, or whatever it might be. And just start to recognize the steps that you need to have completed in a year. Now, I'm walking you through this, and it's not so much the goal that's the important value here, and we'll explain more in a moment here. It's really not about the goal. And then I want you to break it down into the next 90 days. So the next 3 months or so. So today being September 7th, so October, November, December, so pre-Christmas, pre-New Year. And if you happen to have a special day around there that stands out for you, maybe a birthday, maybe a holiday where you are, like Christmas, some other type of holiday, but some sort of like specialized, special not birthday, but some special day that kind of like, oh yeah, that day. And be aware of the next 90 days of what you need to achieve in those next 90 days to get to that goal that will get you to that year-long goal, and that will get you to that 5-year-long goal. And we're going to get into some life stacks soon. But what's important right now is we just want to break it down, get it more condensed here. And then, so what in the next 90 days will support you in getting closer to that 1 year goal, towards that 5 year goal? And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of 5 year goals. I'm a big fan of 90-day goals and accomplishing that. Even 90 days is a bit long. And so just be aware of the next 90 days. Now, if you had these goals in mind and what you're going to create over the next 90 days that gets you closer to that 1 year goal. So let's say the pilot's license. So that means I need to, say starting today, I need to do my ground school. I could probably get that done in the next 90 days. Need to get in the air, need to book some flights. Is there a waiting list? What's going on? Do I need to reach out to the training? What is it over the next 90 days that are these goals? And we'll get into life stacks soon, but I just want you to be clear on these 90-day kind of goals. And life stacks are what are the important factor here, but I'm wanting you to get clearer and clearer on what your goals are, and breaking it down into these shorter time frames makes it more real and makes it more kind of you, if you will. And then over the next 30 days. So we're kind of at the beginning of a month here. So let's say over the balance of September, what would you like to have accomplished by the end of September? What would you like to have pulled off? Would be really amazing. Maybe it's a certain amount of income this month. And as we start to get into the 30 days, we can start to break down into the life stacks a little bit. So you're probably starting to realize that there's some smaller actions as we're getting to more kind of shorter time frames. For example, I need to call the flight training center. I need to book some flights. I need to do some learning, ground school. Certain kind of habits that are starting to kind of show up here, right? It's not a habit. Well, I mean, there's flying 5 years from now, but as you get closer and closer, more granular, you start to see these certain habits kind of show up. And the habits usually come around a few different aspects. There's usually about 6 of them. And so just be aware of these next 30 days of what you are going to do. And just notice that. And break it down, write it down on paper here. That gets you to that 90-day time frame. And then that gets you to that 1 year time frame, and that gets you to that 5 year time frame. And then once you have some sort of actions in that kind of 30-day section that are very specific to the 90 days, that are very specific to the 1 year, that are very specific to the 5 years, break it down into a week. So what over the course of the following week can you accomplish in each of those goals that gets you closer to your 30-day outcomes? And just write those down. Just one thing for each. So over the next week, maybe I'll hop into a plane, do some spins. That kind of stuff. And yourself, what over the next week could you do towards your 30-day goals, your 30-day focus? And then break it down into the next 24 hours. What could you do over the next 24 hours towards your 5 goals? And just write those down. Now, as you can see, this is really, really simple. You break it down in 24 hours. You break it down into a week, break it down into 30 days, into 90 days, into a year, into 5 years. And you can see how what you're doing over the next 24 hours contributes to your 5 years. And that's very granular, very linear, and it's not necessarily authentic. These big 5-year goals may not be, what you want. They might be pressures on you from society, or, the diploma I always never wanted, all that kind of stuff. So this is why it's essential to get clear on who you need to become to achieve your goals. Now, these 5-year goals are great because it can give you something that you can resonate with to develop about yourself. So be aware of your next 24 hours. And I want you to be aware of some sort of habit, some sort of thing, some sort of action or activity or whatever that you can do over the next 24 hours that contributes to your week goals, to your 30 days, to your 90 days, to your year, to your 5 years. There's usually 6 things that kind of stand out here. So this is a lot of my language, but there's usually 6 things. So one of them is meditation. One of them that usually gets you there is meditation. Sometimes it's words you use. It could be affirmations, communication with other people, networking, something about your words that you're using. Sometimes it's about envisioning, visualizing. What is it I actually want? Being the envisioner, being able to have that vision, the dreamer. And protecting your space also goes with that as well. Maybe it's about learning and reading. Maybe you need to learn something, in my case, about flying, or I need to read a training manual or something like that. Or maybe it's about writing, like journaling, or if you're writing a book, or whatever you might be doing, some sort of writing component. Or there's some sort of exercise. You got to move, you got to adjust your body, you got to run, you got to walk, you got to swim, you got to do this, you got to lose weight, you got to lift weights, you got to whatever it might be. Those are usually the 6 things that are part of the life stacks that you do day in, day out, that move you towards your week goals, that move you towards your 30-day goals, that move you towards your 90 days and 1 year and 5 years. And as you do that, you start to build certain muscles. You start to build your meditation muscle. You start to build your envisioning muscle, your dreamer muscle, your ability to write muscle, your ability to learn muscle, and so forth and so forth. And you just kind of build these parts of you. So let's say it's a degree you want to complete in 5 years. But maybe you discover in 2 years that's not actually what you want to create. But in the interim, what you've been doing is building your learning muscle, or building your ability to read muscle, or whatever it might be. You've been developing a part of you over that term. So even if you change your course, you still have that skill. You still have that capacity. You still have that ability, whatever it might be that you did over those 2 years. And those ingredients, what you're developing in yourself, are your life stacks. And as you develop more and more of those, you go through pivots. You start to learn more about yourself. You start to figure out who you are. You start to figure out your passions. You start to figure out your purpose, your enthusiasm, all that kind of stuff. That's how you develop that. That's how you figure it out and you move forward. And when you have very specific tools or skills or practices in place, you can figure it out much faster. That's the beauty of it, okay? It's really ridiculously simple. And I think it's the simplicity why 95% of people fail. And the other 5%, a lot of those people tend to chase the shiny object, or other people's pursuits, or what other people's wants are, or the pressures on them, or whatever, because it's ridiculously simple. You develop your sense of character, if you will, and you develop that. And let's say let's do an example of, like, you're learning all this and you're reading all this. You become more intelligent. Now, let's say you change your goal in a couple of years from now and you've become much more intelligent, you've learned a lot, you've read a lot, whatever it might be. Now, could you imagine all the opportunities that open up because of that? Now, let's say you were completely just focused on your goal without developing your sense of self, just like finishing a degree or whatever. And what that does is it closes off your opportunity windows, your ability to see things clearly on the side here on the periphery that might actually be the right opportunities for you. Now, with that space open, your ability to kind of see that, and you're developing your character through that process, these opportunities, these amazing things show up along the way, and you likely will achieve what you're setting out for, with all these other opportunities that show up that you could say yes or no to depending on what you want to do. And of course, caveat, just be mindful of not chasing the shiny object. But when you're developing your character, there's a lot of opportunities that show up if you're becoming more intelligent, if you're becoming a funnier person, if you are, being healthier, living healthier, if you're eating clean, organic, natural foods, and you're not really drinking, you're not really smoking, and all those types of things, you're probably going to live an extra 10 years, which is going to give you a whole other list of opportunities, right? And so that's just one example. Whereas if you are networking, if that's one of your habits you're developing around your communication with people and words you're using, you're developing your networking, then imagine what that does in 2 years from now. Even if you change your goals, you still have this huge network of people, right? And so there's a lot of different things. So it's about developing, and those are your developing yourself and your characteristics and all that kind of stuff, rather than the goals. The goals, you've probably heard this countless times in any spiritual circles, is let go of being attached to things. If you're attached to your goal, you probably won't achieve it. You need to really be focused on who you are and developing that sense of who you need to be to achieve what you want. And if you develop that part of you, you're likely to achieve your goals, and you're likely to achieve so many other amazing things because you're developing yourself. It's not that simple. And so it's ridiculously simple, and I could hammer it how simple it is. It's formulaic in a certain way. There's a process, there's this and that, A plus B equals C, but it's, anybody could do it, really. Like, if you wanted to do it, you see people who have a focus of they're overcoming, paralysis or something like that. At some point, they want to walk again, obviously, right? But at some point, they start shifting and focus to developing the character of themselves, where they're not really stuck on the outcome anymore. They're developing who they are. Because they're developing who they are, they can actually start to focus on their goals, right? And that kind of stuff, rather than getting the frustrated and I can't do this and I'm not good enough, or all those types of things. Is they're developing their sense of character, and even if they don't achieve their goals, they feel good in themselves, right? And when you're developing your sense of self, regardless if you achieve your goals or not, you feel good about it. Okay. And that's the amazing thing about it, is life is about enjoying it. Life is about being in it. And then when you apply all this with the high achiever kind of mindset, if you will, and the simplicity of this, and you combine this with, being a high achiever. So just a couple kind of rundowns around kind of high achievers is they find their passion. They find their passion and they hammer it out. They do the basics. I think it was Michael Jordan. I don't know what he would do. He would go to the gym, I guess, and just shoot hoops until he got 100 in or something. That was his thing. He just repeats something ridiculously basic over and over and over and over again. And that's what high achievers do, is they find something basic about what their skill or their trade or what they love or their passion is, and they do it over and over and over again. The basics, the foundations, they repeat it over and over and over and over again. You never forget the foundations or the basics of what it is. I teach meditation. I've been doing it for 20 years, and there's a very simple, basic foundational piece that I've been doing every single day. And there's all these advanced tools and skills and this and that I teach and use and stuff, but I always come back down to the foundation, the basics, over and over and over again. And so that's one of the things. High achievers constantly are focused on learning. What do you want to learn today? Where do you want to expand? Are you learning about relationships? Are you learning about money? Are you learning about business? What are you learning? And then find a mentor. That's another aspect that high achievers have, is finding the right mentor for the situation that they're in. Sorry, my kitty's playing with the mouse down there. And then reevaluate yourself regularly. And I'm gonna break it down to this next piece here. So I had you focus on your 5 goals, okay? And then what you're gonna do over the next 24 hours and what you're gonna do over the next week. Now, when you are complete that week, what I want you to do is I want you to reevaluate your week. Did you accomplish what you set out on? Did it move you closer to your 30-day focus of your goals? Do you feel different in yourself? All those types of things is you need to evaluate yourself in that process. Did you do it? Did you not do it? Why? Why or why not? And that kind of stuff. And do you need to shift your focus a bit more? Do you need to get clear on something? Do you need to hire someone? Do you need to let go of something? Whatever it might be, you need to kind of reassess what's going on. And you do this also on a daily level. So what I do that's really essential to this, and so I say this kind of more towards the end here, because people who are really kind of focused want to achieve their goals will hang out to, the 30-minute point here, other than my first 5 minutes where there is no sound. But anyways, whatever, we're here. Is evidence of your dreams coming true, of your goals coming true. You do this every single day. You could do it in the morning, or the evening, whatever fits best. And you write down kind of whatever your goals are, your 90-day goals, and you focus on what that is. You write it out, and you write one piece of evidence over the past 24 hours that shows, yeah, I did do that. So, again, one of my goals is buying a plane and so forth like that. And one of my piece of evidence over the past couple of days, just really simple. I was envisioning flying in the plane I want to buy. It's 1 minute. It's evidence, right? Or I could, let's see, I'm going to likely go fly in the next couple of days here. Went flying again, another training class or whatever, kind of deal. So that's an example. The other, and that would actually, let's say that's in my next step. So let's say show evidence of what I did in the past 24 hours. And then over the next 24 hours, I'm going to book my next flight. Okay. So that's an example. And I do that with each of my goals. So what's over in the past 24 hours of like, yeah, I did that. What am I going to do over the next 24 hours that is lined up with that one specific goal? It moves me towards it. Okay, and I do that with each of my goals. And that's what I do every single morning. And then I do that over the week. And then I do that over the month. And then I do that over the 90 days. And I rehash out my goals if they feel right for me at the 90 days again, the 90-day focus. And if they do, then I direct all the energy back to the 30-day focus, back to the week focus, and back to the daily focus, and so forth like that. Really, really simple. And then one of the other things about high achievers is there are no ifs, ands, or buts about what they're doing. There's nothing that really throws them off their game, their direction. It's like, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm going forward. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing going forward. You can see that in Olympians. You can see it in a business owner who's been running the same business for years. They're just, this is what I'm doing. Or if, there's a turn in the economy, nothing really kind of phases them. They're like, oh, all right, how do I, shift the rudder or the sails and get going again and that kind of stuff. You hit turbulence. That's the point. And that's the wall that people often decide, hey, I'm going to give up now. So this is basically the breakdown of everything. And I'm going to go kind of in a 5-minute snapshot of this for you so that you can kind of pull it all together for you and how you're going to go forward. So here's my recommendation. I want you to sit down and I want you to look at 5-year goals. And they don't have to be accurate. They don't have to be spot on. What we're focused on are starting to develop life stacks. So pick 5 goals, and you could pick, in the top categories. So there's usually relationships, finances, health, career, usually the top 4. Learning is usually another one, those 5 categories, and pick something in each of those areas that would be pretty cool, or you think could be pretty cool, but maybe you're not totally sure, but just take it out 5 years. And then I want you to deconstruct it into a year-long kind of process. What would I need to accomplish in a year to get to those 5 years? And then break that down into 90 days. What do I need to accomplish in the next 90 days that moves me towards that 1 year? And then do that for 30 days, do that for 7 days, and then do that for the next 24 hours. It's a good chunk of time to do this. And if you do this well, first time I did this, I think it was about 4 hours, and I broke it down, put it all on these like big sheets of paper, and kind of worked it out and did my goals, focused it out, decided what my actions were, got them in. And then what I started doing is habit stacking. So habit stacking is one of the essential ingredients. So I want you to figure out what habits you need to put in place that help you design your life to that person you need to become to achieve these goals. So if you're going to become, like myself, a pilot, what kind of goals do I need to be that? What kind of things, what are my habits? What do pilots do? What do private pilots do? That's the type of license I'm getting, private pilot's license. And so what do they do? What are they like? And immersing yourself in that kind of, steeping myself in that type of mentality of like, what kind of private pilot do I want to be? And that kind of aspect. Do I want to take off early in the morning and get somewhere, maybe go skiing, hop off the plane and go skiing, get back on the plane and go back home, that kind of stuff. Like, what is it I want to do? What type of person do I need to be? And what are my habits I need to develop to make that happen? So I develop what are called habits that are life stack habits in here. And I stack my habits and I design carefully my habits in my day. 3 times a day, I have what are called habit stacks that I'm stacking very specific habits that I'm doing. First thing when I wake up, midday sometime, and then in the evening. These are my stacks that I'm doing every day in, day out, that are tied in intimately to my goals and the direction that I'm going in my life. So this is where my help comes in. Really useful is helping you organize what are your habits. They don't need to be super long. They could be 30 seconds. They could be 5 minutes. But what are your habits that you're going to stack that you do day in, day out that move you towards where you want to be? Not to say there's anything wrong with where you want to be. That's the other component where that holds people back, is kind of a wall. What's wrong with where I am? It's not about being what's wrong with where you are. It's about achieving the next level and that level of accomplishment and feeling like pride in yourself. And it's okay to have pride in yourself. And so when you've got that, and those habits compound over time and they make these substantial changes in your life. And you compile those habits here into your evidence that you're doing every day, of like doing this every day. And then you tackle that or tack onto that your next steps you're doing for the next 24 hours. And overall, over the 7 days, and overall over the next 30 days, and overall over the next 90 days, and overall over the next year and 5 years, just imagine what you could create. And it all just simply comes down to habits and specialized, specific, unique habits that are unique to you and what you need to do for yourself to make what you want to achieve happen. And it really is as simple as a habit. And again, I'm emphasizing the simplicity of it. It really, really is simple. And where people get thrown off is the accountability, the execution, the follow through, believing it's not that easy, whatever, all the things that they've got in their head, and attacking it with high achieving mentality, mindset of making stuff happen. That, yeah, I can make that happen. Super cool, super easy. Now, if you want my help, all that kind of stuff, and you want to deduct this and deconstruct this and figure this out, let's hop onto a call. I'll give you my, where you can schedule a call with me. Where did my link go? All right. But you can go to yournextchapter.coach. My name is Leo Richard, and you can schedule a call with me. It's a 20-minute call. We're going to discuss what your goals are, basically where you're aiming for, and see if that's alignment with what I want to create. Obviously, I'm looking for people who are good-natured, who have a level of high-achieving kind of aspect. You don't need to be a high achiever at this moment, but your intention is to get there and make that happen. And be amazing and grow and build your character, all that kind of stuff. Be authentic. I'm cool with that. And we're gonna build that and grow that. And if that's something you want to do, let's get on a call, 20 minutes, figure that out and see if we're a match for each other, to support each other on that level and get you to that next level. Obviously, it would be curtailed to a program working with me, group program or one-to-one, depending on the fit and where you're wanting to go and budget and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, so back to everything, the simplicity of it all. Don't underestimate the simplicity of it. Simplicity is incredibly profound in the impact it creates. Complicated, messy, over busy, all over the place, no time for anything. That stuff doesn't work. You want to have a life that you enjoy, that you can be in and you want to create the goals, create the things that you want, create the people, have the relationships that you want in your life, and when that's you, book a call with me. Go to yournextchapter.coach. My name is Leo. Have an awesome day. Peace.